You're one of the few people I know who openly acknowledges that you have a huge ego. You're very, very open with that.
Oh God, yes.
And...
Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance, is one of the most interesting, complex, and downright baffling films to come out in the last few years. When I exited the cinema, I had no idea what to make of the film. However, after coming home and thinking about it, I realised why the film is so well loved, and why it deserves all the praise and accolades it received. Michael Keaton plays Riggin, a semi-beloved actor who is known for portraying the comic book character Birdman on screen. In order to make a comeback after 20 years, and to cement his abilities as an actor in the eyes of the public, he writes, directs, and stars in a play, an adaptation of Raymond Carter's short story, What We Talk About When We Talk About Love. The advertising for Birdman would have you believe that it's about a washed-up superhero actor played by Michael Keaton, in a bit of stunt casting no doubt, which is true to an extent, but it is not the examination of the concept of celebrity that I was expecting. Maybe it was due to my own expectations, but Birdman is totally different to that. Riggin is battling against the fate of obscurity, yes, but that all boils down to one thing: his ego. Ego is the film's central theme, not fame. Fame is the reason for Riggin's ego, but that character only makes up part of what could be viewed as an ensemble piece. First we have Sam, played by Emma Stone, Riggin's daughter, just out of rehab and working as his personal assistant. Her attitude is cynical and sarcastic, but not in a rebellious, you can't tell me what to do dad kind of way, more in a world-weary sense. She has, or at least she views herself as having gone through hell, being addicted to drugs, or at least that's what's heavily implied, and put through rehab against her will. She discusses how unimportant we are as people, as a species, through metaphors that she found in rehab. It's safe to say that it changed her into a nihilist, and she feels like she understands what the world is. Nothing. In both Stone's and the film's best scene, she scorns her father mercilessly, telling him he's only doing the play to give himself the illusion that he matters, when in fact he doesn't.
Face it, Dad, you are not doing this for the sake of art. You are doing this because you want to feel relevant again. Well, guess what? There is an entire world out there where people fight to be relevant every single day, and you act like it doesn't exist. You're doing this because you're scared to death, like the rest of us, that you don't matter. And you know what? You're right. You don't. It's not important, okay? You're not important. Get used to it.
It's a powerful scene for Sam's character, as it shows her own ego, believing she's better and more accustomed to the world than her father. She's depressed, like most of the characters, but that depression manifests itself into someone who blames her father for her problems and sees him as pathetic and below her. She believes she's superior. At the start of the film, one of the actors in Riggin's play is severely injured in an accident. It's implied it may not be, and so is replaced by critically adored Broadway actor Mike Shiner, played by Edward Norton. At first, Riggin admires Mike, but soon starts to butt heads with him as he starts to take over the creative process. From the outset, Mike is not a sympathetic character. He's pretentious, surly, and generally unlikable, but still a brilliant actor. All of his unsympathetic traits, once again, come from his ego. While Sam is closed off in her egotistical traits, Mike proudly wears them on his sleeve. Claiming that he is only real while on stage, he sexually assaults one of his co-stars during a performance, then openly sports his erection in front of the audience in order to feel the same intensity as the character he's playing. Something he admits to, and is reminded of by an ex-girlfriend in the cast, is that he has erectile dysfunction at all points but when he's on stage. This could easily be a placebo, something to keep his acting as the practice which keeps him from the brink of depression, so it makes a reality where the only time he isn't acting is when he is acting. He mocks Riggin in one scene for his past career choices, specifically his role of Birdman, telling him he doesn't belong in the theatre and that prestige is infinitely superior to popularity.
People know who I am.
Bullshit. They don't know you, your work, man. They know the guy from the bird suit who goes and tells coy, slightly vomitous stories on Letterman.
Well, I'm sorry if I'm popular, Mike.
Popular?
You know,
I don't give a shit. Popular? Popularity is the slutty little cousin of prestige, my friend.
Okay, I don't even know what the fuck that means, so... Yeah.
His brand of entertainment is better, he feels, as it is more honest, raw and passionate than Riggan's. It is art, it is better. He believes he is superior. One other character besides Riggan himself that is important to the film's examination of ego, and this character has only 2 speaking scenes, but they're arguably the most important. This would be Tabitha Dickinson, the New York Times critic that the play's box office depends on. Her first scene seems fairly innocuous, having a conversation with Mike about the play, and Mike asking her not to sink it. However, this directly leads on to her second scene, where Riggan attempts to spark a conversation with her. She shoots him down almost immediately, showing him exactly what he's up against, telling him that she will close his play on principle of believing he's unworthy of Broadway.
I'm going to destroy your play.
But you didn't see it. You know, did I do something to offend you?
As a matter of
I'm so
fact, you
sorry.
did. You took up space in a theater which otherwise might have been used on something worthwhile.
Okay, well...
This exchange mirrors the earlier scene with Mike, but it cuts deeper because Riggan is undisputably in the weaker position. He is at the mercy of this critic, while Mike was an actor and was under Riggan in terms of rank. Dickinson, on the other hand, she decides the fate of his career, whether he lives or dies in the eyes of the public, and she is outright telling him he will die. His form of art is lower than hers. This example of a critic and an actor being in sync in their sense of ascension beyond the lower forms of art is rarely seen, or even discussed in film. There's a reason that Mike is a critical darling. He asserts and enables her dominance and power over anyone who dares show their face on Broadway. She believes she's superior. And so that leaves Riggan, our central character. We first see Riggan levitating in his dressing room, seemingly meditating, while a voice, apparently not his own, narrates about how terrible his situation is.
How did we end up here? This place is horrible. Smells like balls.
This appears to show him having superpowers, but using them in a peaceful, almost transcendent way. This is a far cry from later in the film, where he uses his powers to soar across New York and destroy it at the same time. This is a hallucination, of course, and it provides juxtaposition of his power scenes with banal explanations. When he is flying through New York, he ends up at the theatre, but instead of arriving there via flight, he steps out of a cab in a daze, forgetting to even pay the fare. The reason Riggan believes he has these powers is because of, once again, his ego. The deep voice narrating at the start is in fact Riggan, but the side of him that is still Birdman. The voice follows him, telling him that he should continue doing what he did 20 years ago. The voice is trying to persuade him that he is a god to the people, as he provides them with the entertainment and the escapism that they desire, in his words, making them
Shit their pants.
and that theatre critics and actors are no more important than any of the tiny people that Riggan literally sees below him as he flies. Throughout the film, Riggan is fighting Birdman. He needs acceptance from the serious acting community, otherwise he will have never achieved anything in his own right. He failed his own child, never being there for Sam, causing her to be the way she is now. This play is his new child, the one thing he can finally get right, explaining his lack of enthusiasm that his new girlfriend may be pregnant near the beginning of the film. At first, his hallucinations with Birdman are few and mild, but it is after Sam's rant in which she tears down any emotional barriers he has left that they begin to increase in frequency and severity. Ironic that a superhero ends up being the figurative villain of the piece, providing the main conflict for Riggan to fight against. But in the end, he loses. In the final scene of his play, his character finds the woman of his heart in bed with another man, and upon realizing she does not love him, shoots himself in the head. On the opening night, Riggan performs the scene, but with one difference. He is holding a real gun and genuinely shoots himself in the head. After a string of Birdman encounters, Riggan has given in. He knows that all he's good for is spectacle and shock, giving people what they want, making them
Shit their pants.
So he gives the audience the ultimate shock, shooting himself on stage. However, Riggin does not die. He wakes up in a hospital to find he shot off part of his face and so underwent facial reconstruction. The play has received outstanding reviews, even from Dickinson, publishing the new review under the title The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance. After he has several visitors, his daughter fights her way through the press to deliver flowers, specifically the flowers he asked his daughter for in the first scene of the film. The problem is Riggin can no longer smell. This acceptance from his daughter, with her giving him the flowers he wanted at first, finally showing a mutual respect and understanding, is now useless. He has no use for it because his need for approval is gone. He gave in to the Birdman, to the empty shock and spectacle. After his daughter leaves, he looks in the mirror to see his newly constructed nose, only to see Birdman in the mirror behind him. He has not defeated his ego by giving in. He has not managed to make it go away by bowing to its whims. His ego cannot be tamed. It needs the worship, the attention that Riggin received when he shot himself in the theatre. He is Birdman now. He is no longer an actor, he is his part and he can be nothing else. So believing he can fly, he leaps out of his hospital room window. His daughter comes back to check on him and discovers he's missing, only to look out of the window, look up, and smile. This once again is the finishing development for the relationship between Riggin and Sam. She's finally seen his ego manifested in a real-life, literal form, and so now sees him flying too, above her and everyone else, and is content with that fact. This scene concludes the film, and it leaves it on an ambiguous note. Whether Riggin really flew or not isn't shown, but in his mind, and the mind of his daughter representing the public and the people Riggin needed acceptance from, he can fly. His new face is his new identity. His identity as the god of the people, his soaring above them, their undying love and adoration for him. No matter how much he fought, his ego won over. He now believes he is superior. So what does this all add up to? Well, every character is in variance of the same position. Sam is hiding her ego, Mike is showing it to the world, Tabitha is using it as a weapon, and Riggin is fighting between the three. Each are expressing their ego, some without knowing it. The nature of theatre and film and entertainment as a whole is an ego-driven exercise, and here their ego keeps them locked away, no matter how much they try and expose it. Mike may claim that he is only himself on stage, but the audience cannot interact with him. Mike is alone, completely and utterly, only letting people see the true him when there's a metaphorical wall separating them. They all believe they know the world around them, even if they don't. In the end, every one of them gets proven wrong. Sam is not above her father, Mike is upstaged by Riggin, and Tabitha ends up falling for Riggin's spectacle and in the process proving herself wrong about his worth. And Riggin is trying to find the meaning of what surrounds him, and finds it in Birdman, despite how much he is adamant throughout that he doesn't need him. He ends up proving himself wrong. They're all trapped in their own box, ignorant of what is really happening to them. But then again, that's what makes them who they are. It is simultaneously their worst weakness and their greatest virtue. The film is about, to quote its alternate title, The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance.